After 150 days in coma, a young nurse's life-changing kiss revealed the incredible power of love. Emily Thompson stood beside Sarah's hospital bed, heart racing as she brushed a lock of hair away from her best friend's pale face. The gentle beeping of machines surrounded her, a rhythmic reminder of the life that lingered just beneath the surface. The scent of fresh-baked pie wafted faintly through the open window, a stark contrast to the sterile smell of antiseptic. Emily could almost hear the laughter ringing through Main Street, where families gathered at the diner, cherishing life together. But here, amidst the fluorescent lights and hushed whispers, hope felt like a fragile thread, ready to snap. Sarah, a brave warrior in their small community, had been in a coma for 150 days after a devastating car accident. Each day, Emily would sneak in at odd hours, painting small pictures of the world outside for her friend. She told stories of laughter, love, and the warmth of their close-knit town, hoping to stir even the faintest flutter of recognition within Sarah. "You have to wake up, Sarah. We need you," she whispered, her voice cracking, tears pooling in her eyes. When the community gathered for a candlelit vigil one cold evening, unity filled the air, a tapestry woven of shared grief. Flickering flames flickered in the winter breeze, casting warm glows on tear-stained faces. Emily stepped forward, a trembling whisper escaping her lips as she leaned in to kiss Sarah's forehead, an act of love, electric and profound. In that moment, amidst the sea of sorrow, Sarah stirred. A soft gasp escaped her lips, the flicker of life igniting a wildfire of hope among the townsfolk. As overwhelming joy washed over her, Emily wrestled with deeper questions resonating in her heart. What does it mean to heal? Can love mend the cracks of regret and guilt? A storm of emotions whirled in her chest, the bittersweet mix of exhilaration and fear almost brought her to her knees. The crowd's gasps echoed loudly, as if they too felt the needling tension below the surface. Whispers ensued, every soul in Maplewood hungering for answers. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the following weeks, Emily felt torn. As Sarah began to wake, revealing hidden truths cloaked in shared memories, shadows of doubt crept into Emily's mind. She had sacrificed her own dreams, years of hard work set aside in pursuit of healing for others. Now, with Sarah's words echoing in her head, she faced the reality of her own aspirations. Could she maintain her devotion while trying to heal her own soul? The community cheered for Sarah's recovery, yet Emily silently pondered if her sacrifice would be enough to carry both futures. As Sarah's first words hung in the air, a potent mixture of vulnerability and strength, Emily's heart raced. The choices between friendship, family ties, and pursuing her dreams all bore down upon her. Would they find forgiveness woven through the complexities of their past? Or would doubt and fear obscure the love they once cherished, leaving them both in fractured silences? As the days melted into one another, Emily found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah was awake, her eyes flickering with the spark of life, yet understanding the world around her was a slow, laborious process. Each small progress was marked by newfound laughter, but also tearful revelations. Sarah would often gaze out the window, her expression a mix of joy and longing. Sometimes, Emily would catch her staring at the colorful trees swaying gently in the breeze, imagining they were talking about all the moments they had missed together. Did you tell them I'm awake?" Sarah asked one evening, her voice faint but filled with curiosity. Emily felt her heart skip. It was in that moment the world behind those hospital walls could be vibrant and full of possibilities once again. Yet with each question Sarah asked, Emily would feel waves of guilt crash over her. She had stepped away from her own dreams to help her friend, but at what cost? "They know, Sarah. Everyone has been waiting for you," Emily replied, her voice trembling slightly. She wanted to tell Sarah how much the town needed her spirit, her laughter. But she also wanted to scream about the dreams she had set aside her own mission to become a nurse practitioner. The days turned into weeks, and gradually Sarah was moved to a rehabilitation unit. While that small step felt like a monumental victory, Emily felt a pang of anxiety. Would Sarah be able to regain her strength? Would they return to the lives they once knew? One afternoon, as the sun flooded the room with a golden hue, Emily sat in the corner, flipping through a magazine. Sarah was focused on her therapy exercises, her brow furrowed in concentration. Each movement felt like a battle. She pushed through pain and fatigue, refusing to surrender to despair. But behind that fierce determination, Emily noticed a flicker of fear of what life would look like after this was all over. What if I can't get back to normal? What if I can't, be me again? Sarah's voice trembled, and Emily's heart broke at the vulnerability spilling over. You already are, Sarah. Look at you. You're fighting, Emily replied, her voice an anchor in the storm. And even if things aren't the same, we'll figure it out together. Yet beyond their bond and heartfelt assurance, the weight of unresolved issues loomed large. Old wounds lingered just beneath the surface, waiting for the chance to be addressed. As Sarah continued her rehabilitation, tales of unresolved uncertainty and their shared history felt like chains binding them to a past neither could ignore. The day Emily had been dreading arrived. Sarah had her first family visit, and though it was meant to be a joyous reunion, a heaviness filled the air. This was the moment when reality would wash over her friend, emotions would race and questions would inevitably surface. As Sarah's mother entered the room, cautious and trembling, the room fell silent, charged with an energy that felt almost tangible. Emily held her breath, watching as Sarah looked at her mother, eyes wide, standing on the precipice of reconnection. Would they embrace joyfully, or would the past's shadows rise once again? With a churning knot in her stomach, Emily's pulse raced. She felt trapped, knowing this moment could either bridge the gap that had formed or shatter everything they had worked towards. Would love prevail, or would it reveal deeper fractures? As the silence pressed down heavily on them, the future felt chillingly uncertain. The moment of truth, it seemed, was just around the corner, waiting for them all. The silence lingered, thick and heavy. Sarah's mother, clutching a bouquet of fresh peonies, stood by the door, her eyes scanning the room before finally locking onto her daughter's gaze. Emily could see the trembling in Sarah's hands as uncertainty danced across her features. This was at the moment they had both been waiting for, yet dreading all at once. Sarah, her mother finally spoke, her voice a whisper that carried a weight of longing. Oh, my sweet girl Mom. Sarah's voice cracked, both a question and a plea. Slowly, the distance that had felt insurmountable started to shrink as Sarah's mother took a step forward. The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat echoing the myriad of emotions boiling just beneath the surface. Then, in an unexpected moment, Sarah broke from her hesitant stance. She reached out, and her mother surged forward, dropping the flowers as they fell into each other's embrace. Emily stood frozen, her heart racing as she watched the reunion unfold. It was a tender moment soaked in tears, the kind of release they had all yearned for but were terrified to explore. But behind the warmth of this moment, Emily felt her own heartbreak nudging at her, a reminder of her sacrifices. She wanted to be there for Sarah, yet she could feel her own dreams veering further away, like ships passing in the night. Why didn't you come sooner? Sarah whispered, her voice muffled against her mother's shoulder. I was scared I didn't know how to face this, her mother confessed, her voice thick with emotion. But I've thought about you every single day. You are my heart. Emily's chest tightened. Words hung heavy in the air, as if the past was demanding its due. Would they be able to truly reconnect? Or were their wounds too deep to heal? As their mother-daughter embrace deepened, Emily couldn't help but feel like an outsider. This was their moment. She should step back, let them share their history, their pain, and their joy. But as she turned away, a tear rolled down her cheek. She felt the weight of Sarah's past bearing down on her too, a shared burden that was hard to escape. "Emily!" Sarah called out, her voice pulling her back from her thoughts. The tenderness in Sarah's voice could melt the walls around her. "I'm right here," Emily said, rushing to her side. As Sarah pulled away from her mother, their eyes met, and Emily was struck by the vulnerability laid bare. It was as if Sarah had a new strength of flame rekindled from within. "Can we talk?" Sarah asked, glancing from her mother to Emily, determination in her gaze. "Of course," Emily replied softly, taking Sarah's hand, squeezing it gently. Her heart swelled as she felt a beautiful sense of unity amidst the chaos. Do you think things will really be okay?" Sarah asked, uncertainty lingering in her voice. Emily nodded, feeling the air shift. This was a pivotal moment, filled with the promise of healing, forgiveness, and hope. But before she could respond, Sarah's mother stepped forward, courage in her stance. "Can I join this conversation?" she asked, emotion threading through her voice. Emily blinked back more tears. It was a small request, but it signaled the beginning of healing, a reconciliation they had all needed for so long. But just as words began to form in Emily's mind, a loud commotion erupted from the hallway, grabbing their attention. Emily turned toward the noise, a sudden jolt of anxiety racing through her. What was happening now? The room was heavy with emotions, but something felt different. The past had begun to shift, but was it enough to hold them together? As the door swung open, a familiar face stepped through, one she hadn't expected. "I heard Sarah was up. Can I see her?" Hope surged within Emily, but an undertow of dread was right behind it. Would this new arrival bring more healing or stir up even more complications? The moment of truth, the next chapter of their lives, waited on the threshold. As the figure stepped into the room, Emily's heart skipped. It was Jake, the nurse who had cared for Sarah during those long and painful days in the hospital. His presence seemed to fill the space with an unspoken energy, a blend of hope and apprehension. Everyone turned to him, Sarah's eyes wide with confusion, and her mother's expression shifting into one of surprise and curiosity. "Jake," Sarah breathed, glancing from him to her mother, then back to him, as if trying to piece everything together. "Hey, Sarah," he said, taking a tentative step forward. "I didn't mean to intrude, but I'm so glad to see you awake." His voice was soothing, yet there was an edge to it, an intensity in his gaze that seemed to delve deeper into her soul. "Why did you come?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of joy and caution. I needed to see you," he said, his sincerity palpable. "You've been through so much. I wanted to make sure you're okay. I wanted to check in on, well, everything." Emily watched as the room dynamic shifted. The reunion was quickly turning into a tangled web of emotions. Sarah's mother shifted uncomfortably, her protective instincts ignited, while Sarah's hope began to flicker like a candle in a draft. "Who is he?" her mother challenged, crossing her arms as if to shield her daughter from further heartache. "This is Jake," Sarah replied, her voice steadier now, though still laced with uncertainty. "He was one of my nurses." "Just a nurse?" her mother pressed, the defensiveness in her tone revealing the layers of fear she harbored. Emily sensed the unease building, overwhelming the fragile moment they had only just begun to reclaim. Jake's eyes shifted from Sarah to her mother, as if seeking her approval. "I cared for Sarah during her coma. I was with her every day." The weight of his words hung in the air, untouched and raw. It wasn't just a professional bond, it was layered with something deeper. Emily felt a pang of jealousy flare at the thought. Had this man been the one to unlock hope for Sarah when her family struggled to find it? "Have you even spoken with her about what happened?" her mother's voice dripped with a protective edge. "I did," Jake said gently. "She knows I care about her. But I think right now, she needs all of you, more than anything." Sarah's eyes softened at the affirmation. "I do," she murmured, and in that moment, Emily saw it clearly, the flicker of something more powerful than affection. It was a connection forged in the most vulnerable of times. "Sarah, do you want to talk to him alone?" Emily asked quietly, trying to gauge how Sarah felt while feeling the tension in the room mounting. She knew this was a critical moment. Sarah searched Jake's eyes, her own glistening with unshed tears. "I think I need to figure a lot of things out first." Emily's heart sank as she sensed the weight of the fight ahead. Had she sacrificed her voice, her place in Sarah's life, for a moment of healing? Before she could dwell on her insecurities, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her attention. Caught off guard, she glanced down to see a message from her sister. "I hope you're okay. Remember, you're allowed to grieve too." Where did that leave her? As she looked back to the trio in the room, the pieces didn't seem to fit quite right. Sarah was healing, but what about Emily's own heart? Jake took the chance to bridge the silence. "You all deserve to heal together," he said gently, looking at both women. "There's no rush. Just take your time." But the unease thickened. Emily could feel it in the very air around them. She took a step back, feeling lost in the uncertainty hanging over them like a storm cloud. Maybe I should give you two some space," Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. As she turned to leave, she stole one last glance at Sarah. Their eyes locked, hope, fear, love, and betrayal. It all mingled together in that moment. Would their bond survive this? "Wait, Emily," Sarah called, a hint of desperation in her voice. But Emily hesitated. Was stepping away the right choice, or was it just another chance to lose everything she had fought for? Every choice held consequences, their roads diverging at a critical intersection. What awaited them on the other side? As Emily paused at the door, her heart raced. Sarah's voice cut through the thick air like a plea for help. What was she supposed to do? She could feel the weight of all their unspoken feelings pressing on her chest. "Just please don't go," Sarah said, and for a moment, the entire room felt still. Jake stood there, hands stuffed in his pockets, watching both women with an intensity that felt almost uncomfortable. Emily turned, caught in the web of confusion and longing. "I just thought maybe you should have some time together," she stammered. But the moment Sarah's eyes met hers, she could see her friend needed her now more than ever. "Emily," Jake interjected gently, "it's okay. I promise I won't take her away from you." It wasn't just a promise, there was a softness in his voice that spoke volumes. Emily felt a flicker of warmth amidst her worry. Could there be a way for them all to be connected, to heal, without feeling pushed out? "Okay," Emily finally replied, letting her shoulders relax. "I'll stay for just a moment." She took a deep breath and moved back towards the bed. There was a knot of anxiety in her stomach, but she wanted to support Sarah. "Let's just talk, all of us," Sarah suggested, glancing between Jake and her mother, as if crafting a fragile truce. The room felt charged with a mix of hope and apprehension. Jake nodded, easing into the moment. "I think that's a great idea. Talk about everything." "Like what?" "Lying in a coma." Sarah's words wavered, still steeped in uncertainty. "It's part of what you've been through, but it doesn't define you." Jake's voice rang with honesty. "What you choose from this point forward is what matters." Emily noticed the way Sarah absorbed his words. It was as if she was sipping from a wellspring of renewed strength. The heaviness in Sarah's eyes began to lift. "I've missed you all so much. It's just hard to trust my own feelings." "Trust is key," her mother murmured, stepping closer now, softening her protective stance. "But we're here with you, all of us." Emily glanced at Jake and felt another twinge of jealousy, mixed with curiosity. Who was he really? Had he seen the worst of Sarah's battles while they felt so helpless? I thought you were gone forever," Sarah whispered, her voice shaky but sincere. "I was just waiting," Jake replied, his gaze steady and comforting. And now that you're back, I want to help any way I can. As Jake spoke, Emily could feel the connection tingling in the air. It wasn't just the unbreakable bond that had formed, it was the fragility of it all, the uncertainty about what could happen next, not just between Sarah and Jake, but all of them. Sarah's voice broke through the tension again. I don't want to push you away. You're my best friend, and I need you by my side. Emily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. You won't push me away. I'll always be here, no matter what. Just promise me, let us be honest with each other. Sarah's face lit up, a hint of a smile breaking through her concerns. Promise. The air in the room began to shift. The past was heavy, but the present felt lighter, a fresh start was within reach. Just then, Emily's phone buzzed again, a reminder that the world outside didn't stop. She glanced at the screen, a message from her sister, "Are you okay? Let me know when you're ready to talk." Torn between the warmth of the moment and her own uncertainty, Emily clenched her phone tightly. Would she tell her sister about the weight of her fears, or would she keep them tucked away? And what would the future hold for Sarah, Jake, and her? I think we're going to be okay, Emily said lightly, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. As Sarah smiled, Jake watched them both with an intensity that felt electric. But the question lingered. What scars would they uncover next, and would their fragile bond withstand the storms ahead? Emily's breath caught in her throat as her phone buzzed again, pulling her away from the moment. Her sister's message lingered in her mind, a reminder of the life she felt was slipping through her fingers as she stood there. She shot an anxious glance at Sarah, who was still watching her intently. Hey, Emily said softly, wanting to reassure her friend despite the tumult brewing inside. I need to check something quickly. Just a minute. Sarah nodded, her gaze steady but searching. Emily stepped out into the hallway, the lively hum of chatter fading into a distant buzz. She leaned against the wall and opened her sister's message. Just tell me you're okay, it read. The concern was palpable, the kind that pulled at Emily's heartstrings. She felt an almost overwhelming need to confide in her sister, to lay bare everything she felt, her fears, her confusion, her jealousy. But could she put her feelings into words? The silence of the hallway felt to Emily like an echo of her doubts. Emily. Sarah's voice broke through the stillness. She turned to find her friend standing just outside the room, vulnerability painting her features. Are you all right? Yeah, Emily hesitated. Just checking in with my sister. Okay, Sarah said, her eyes searching Emily's. But if you need to talk. Her tone was both gentle and resolute. Emily nodded, swallowing the lump forming in her throat. She didn't want to push away Sarah's kindness, but she also didn't want to add to Sarah's burdens. Would sharing her fears, even the slightest hint, make their bond stronger, or create cracks in the fragile wall they were trying to build? Just then, Jake appeared, glancing between the two women. His presence shifted the air again. You guys okay? Emily managed a smile, a flicker of warmth sparking in the air like a candle flame against the dark. We're just catching up. Good, he replied, a hint of relief washing over his expression. I think it's important that you both feel supported, you know. The conversation started to flow more easily, a mutual understanding forming around their shared fears and hopes. Even as the weight of Sarah's past loomed, Emily felt a sense of purpose in standing by her friend. I know it's been hard, Jake shared, redirecting the energy. But it's amazing to see how much you've come back already, Sarah. Thanks, Jake. Sarah's voice was soft, but the gratitude bursting from it felt like a gentle hug. Yet, as they talked, an unasked question hung between them. Would Sarah embrace the help being offered? Would she lean into the connection with Jake, or pull away into the shadows of doubt? The conversation drifted from light topics to memories shared, laughter trickling back into the atmosphere like spring rain. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt the lightness of hope. But remnants of fear still encroached at the borders of their fragile truce. What if I mess it up? Sarah suddenly asked, her voice barely a whisper. A moment of silence enveloped them, each of them processing the weight of her words. Then we'll fix it, Jake replied with certainty, that softness creeping back into his tone. Together. Emily felt a swell of something warm. Could it be love, or was it the fleeting comfort of acceptance? Together, echoed Emily, her heart racing. As they stood in a circle of shared experiences, worries loomed. Moments of uncertainty still lurked like shadows just outside the glow of their hopeful light. But as Emily looked at Sarah and Jake, she couldn't shake the feeling that the truth of what lay ahead was not just about scars, but about healing together, as a new kind of family. Just then, Emily's phone buzzed again, dragging her thoughts back to reality. "Excuse me for 1 second," she said, stepping away quickly. But as she looked at the screen, her heart dropped. It was a message she hadn't expected, one that could change everything. "Emily, you need to come home. We have something important to discuss." The words floated in the air, laden with meaning. What awaited her on the other side of that message? Would she be ready to embrace whatever storm was brewing? Emily's heart thundered in her chest as she stared at the screen. The words blurred, becoming a chaotic swirl of emotions. Her sister's urgency echoed loudly in her mind, twisting the knife of worry deeper. What could be so important? She thought, anxiety coiling around her. "Hey, everything okay?" Jake's voice pulled her from the spiral of her thoughts. Emily looked up, forcing a calm nod as she tucked her phone into her pocket. "Yeah, it's just my sister. She wants me to come home. Something's up." "What kind of something?" Sarah stepped closer, her expression tightening with concern. "She didn't say." Emily's voice cracked. "She just needs to discuss something important." The weight of her sister's words felt heavy, pushing against her chest. "You should go," Jake suggested gently. "If it's that important, yeah, but what if it's bad news? What if it's about Mom or Dad?" The question hung in the air, laced with dread. Sarah reached out, placing a hand on Emily's forearm. "You'll never know unless you find out. We're here for you, okay?" "Right." Emily inhaled deeply, but the fear didn't leave her. It became a familiar companion, mixing with the hope that had just begun to emerge. How could she reconcile those feelings? A silence fell over them, heavy with unspoken fears. Emily felt like she was teetering on a precipice, one foot rooted in this small moment, while the other hovered over an undefined abyss that called her home. Maybe I'll go and see what's going on," she finally blurted, the decision both exhilarating and terrifying. Jake nodded. "If you need us to come with no, I think I need to do this alone." The words escaped her before she could catch them. But deep down, she sensed that facing whatever awaited her would require a kind of solitude, a moment to gather her strength. "Just text us when you get there." "We'll be waiting," Sarah reaffirmed, her eyes shining with unwavering support. With a tight smile, Emily turned for the door, her steps feeling heavier with each stride away from the warmth of the moment they had shared. The hallway felt darker, more isolating as she walked toward the exit. She could hear the faint echoes of laughter behind her, but it faded, replaced by the hammering of her heart. Each step toward the parking lot was laden with memories, long nights spent laughing or fighting over trivial things. How had everything shifted so drastically in just a few months? She climbed into her car, fingers gripping the wheel as the engine roared to life. "What is going on?" she muttered to herself, a mantra that clung desperately to her lips. She pulled out of the lot, the route home familiar yet treacherous with uncertainty. As she drove, her mind raced through every possible scenario: worst case, best case, something in between. Love and fear danced a chaotic waltz in her chest, each turn of the road deepening the tension inside. When she finally arrived at her parents' house, the familiar sight struck a chord of nostalgia. Memories flooded back: the warmth of family dinners, the sound of her mother's laughter. But today, it felt different. Emily swallowed hard and stepped out of the car, dread pooling in her stomach. As she approached the door, it opened before she could knock. Her sister stood there, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Emily, I'm so glad you're here," she said, her voice quivering and full of urgency. "What's wrong?" Emily whispered, fear creeping back. But instead of answering, her sister paused, unsure. It was a moment that seemed to stretch endlessly. Emily felt her heart race faster, ready to burst. Then her sister stepped aside, revealing their parents in the living room, both looking expectant and anxious. Something was off. Emily took a breath and crossed the threshold, the air thick with tension. "What is going on?" she demanded, steeling herself for whatever awaited her. And just as she thought she was ready for anything, her mother's voice broke the silence. "Emily, there is something we've been keeping from you." At that moment, Emily's heart sank and soared simultaneously. What was this? Revelation? Would it tear their family apart, or bind it closer together? No one could prepare her for the truth that was about to unfold. As they began to speak, Emily's phone buzzed once more, and she felt a chill run down her spine. Who could it be this time? Emily's phone vibrated again, its sound jarring against the thick tension in the room. She hesitated, glancing down at the screen to see an unknown number. Panic fluttered in her chest. It felt like a weight pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. "Emily?" her mother urged softly, breaking into her thoughts. The worry etched on her mother's face sent a fresh wave of fear coursing through her. "Can we talk now?" She nodded, but her throat felt tight. Setting her phone aside, she focused on her family, who seemed to be holding their breath, waiting for her reaction. "What is it?" she asked again, forcing the words out. "It's about your father," her sister started, her voice shaky. "There is something you need to know, something we should have told you long before now." The air seemed to thicken, wrapping around Emily like a cold shroud. "What do you mean? Is he okay?" The second she spoke, dread clenched her stomach. Her father shifted uncomfortably, his fingers knotted together. His usually sturdy demeanor felt fragile, and for a moment, Emily felt as if the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "Dad?" she pressed, her heart racing. Finally, he took a deep breath. "Emily, I haven't been well for the last few months. But this is not just about me. There are things about our family, things you don't know." Emily felt a pull of disbelief but couldn't shake the feeling that this was too important to ignore. "Just tell me, please," she urged, her voice rising slightly. "Mom and we've been worried about the future," he continued, his eyes meeting hers in earnest. "There is something you should know about your mother's health and my condition." A chill skated down Emily's spine as her mother frowned at her father. "John, we can't just spring this on her like that." "No," Emily interjected, fierce and trembling. "I need to know. Please, just tell me." Her father nodded slowly, a visible struggle playing out on his features. "It's cancer, Emily. I found out a bit ago. I didn't want to worry you." Emily's heart plummeted. All those moments she had taken for granted, the shared dinners and lazy afternoons, they threatened to slip away, leaving her gasping for what she could lose. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, the words hanging in the air like a heavy fog. "I didn't want you to stress over me." "You have your own life," he began, but the conviction in her voice cut through his excuses. "Dad, I'm here. You should have let me in. We're family." Her mother reached for her hand, but Emily pulled back, her emotions swelling fiercely. The truth hit hard, unearthing a mix of anger and fear. "And Mom? What about your health?" A moment passed like a lifetime, pain and regret etched into their faces. "I'm all right, Em. Just a little tired," her mother replied swiftly. Yet, her eyes gleamed with a truth that lay unspoken. "Liar!" Emily shouted, the room echoing with her grief. The familiar anguish rose within her, fueled by the stark realities crashing down. What's really happening? Emily, her sister said, stepping forward. We should talk about options, there's a lot to consider. With those words, Emily felt the tight grip of fear replace all hope. The fragments of their family began to unravel, like threads pulled from a tapestry. What can we do? She asked, each word suffused with urgency. The conversation shifted as they began to speak of treatments and doctors. Emily listened but felt disconnected, as if they were each floating in their own grief. Time faded into silence, heavy and oppressive. Just as her anxiety peaked, her phone buzzed again in a cruel contrast to the struggle unfolding. Reluctantly, she grabbed it, her heart pounding for answers, but all she found was a text, "I know you're hurting. But there's more to the story. Meet me at the cafe. You'll want to hear this." Who could it possibly be, and what could they know that would be important enough for her to leave her family right now? With every heartbeat, the weight of impending decisions settled deeper in her soul. What if this person held a key to her next steps? But could she really step away from all this, from the storm raging in her family? The uncertainty swirled within her, battling against the relentless tide of emotions, as she faced the dilemma, should she answer the call of the unknown or stay and fight for her family? Emily stared at her phone, the screen still glowing with that ominous message. She felt torn, each word pulling her in different directions. There was a world outside the walls of the living room, where gray clouds threatened to unleash a storm just as fierce as the one brewing inside her. But this? It felt wrong to leave her family now when they needed each other the most. "Emily, are you okay?" Her sister's voice brought her back to the moment. She blinked, trying to shake off the confusion clouding her thoughts. "You look like you've seen a ghost." The panic had subsided a little, but the overwhelming weight of everything was still there. "I don't know who it is. I don't think I should leave." Her mother nodded in agreement. "You need to be here with us. We're all in this together." But even as she said that, Emily could see the unspoken fears flash behind her eyes. "Mom, I can't just ignore it," Emily replied, her tone laced with urgency. "What if they know something that could help? What if they don't?" Her father interrupted. He struggled to find the right words, as if each one carried a heavy cost. "Emily, please focus on what matters right now." It was all spinning too fast. Her own worries, her father's diagnosis, the whispered uncertainties about her mother's health, and the mysterious text mingled together into a cacophony. Emily felt dizzy, as if the ground beneath her was slipping away. "We can come back to this. Talk about treatments and everything else later," her sister suggested, sounding desperate to switch gears. "Let's just take a moment, breathe." Emily nodded, but the air felt thick and suffocating. She could feel the silence coiling around them like a snake. She glanced again at her phone, weighing the decision that loomed over her like dark clouds. "Maybe I should just," she hesitated, not sure how to finish her sentence. But in her heart, she felt the urgency of the unknown pulling her closer. It was risky, but was life itself a collection of risks? "If you decide to go, we'll understand," her sister said gently. "Just, be careful. You don't know who they are." That was the thing, Emily thought. She didn't know who this person was or what they wanted, but the idea of anything that could help fill the void that seemed to be creeping in felt almost magnetic. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about choices, about connecting with parts of herself that were overshadowed by grief. "I think I'll go," Emily finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I need to know." "Emily, wait. Please don't do this alone," her mother pleaded, reaching for her hand. "I'll be back," Emily promised, feeling somewhat reassured by her own words, even if she didn't fully believe them. "I'll call you." With a heavy heart, she slipped out the front door, the cold air hitting her like a wave. She didn't glance back, knowing that once she stepped into that cafe, everything could change. The unknown felt both thrilling and terrifying at the same time. As she walked, each step echoed in her mind, mingled with thoughts of her family and the storm waiting for her return. She didn't know what awaited her at the cafe, but a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. When she reached the cafe, she paused at the entrance, a sense of trepidation washing over her. She scanned the room, searching for a familiar face or anyone who seemed to know more than she did. A figure at the far corner caught her eye, and she felt a chill run down her spine. It was a man, his face shadowed beneath a hooded jacket, but there was something oddly familiar about him. What does he know? Emily whispered to herself, her heart pounding as she hesitated at the threshold of uncertainty. The moment of truth was upon her, and the stakes had never been higher. Little did she know, the revelations that awaited her would push the limits of everything she thought she understood about her family and herself. Emily took a deep breath as she stepped inside the cafe, the smell of freshly brewed coffee wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Her eyes darted around, searching for the figure perched in the corner, the one who made her skin tingle with apprehension. With each step she took, doubt pounded in her chest. What truth awaited her, and at what cost? The man looked up, and her heart raced. It was Jason, a childhood friend turned estranged. They had once shared secrets and dreams, but life's choices had forced them apart. His presence felt heavy, charged with emotions that swirled in the air like steam rising from a cup. "Emily," he said, managing a faint smile, though sadness lingered in his eyes. "Thank you for coming." "What do you want, Jason?" she asked, her voice steadier than the storm brewing inside her. "Why now?" He shifted nervously in his seat, studying the table between them as though the right words were hidden beneath its surface. "I've known you and your family forever. I heard some things, and I think it's important you hear them too." Tension radiated from her. "What things?" "My family is dealing with enough right now." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I know about your dad's condition. And I know there's something more you deserve to understand." Emily felt her heart drop. "What do you mean?" "I might have info on treatment's options. Things that the doctors haven't mentioned." Grief mingled with the flicker of hope inside her. "How do you know this? Are you trying to play hero?" "I just want to help," he replied, frustration lining his words. "Look, I know we've drifted apart, but there are times when things don't seem to make sense." Emily's thoughts raced back to the chaos of her family's reality, the weight of her father's illness and the shadow of her mother's unspoken struggles. "Why should I trust you?" she demanded, the hurt cutting deep. Jason inhaled sharply, the tension in his shoulders evident. "Because the truth is, I care more than you know. And I've seen families torn apart by silence." For a moment, that old bond shimmered, an echo of friendship built on shared dreams and laughter. A flicker of fear danced within her. Could she allow herself to trust him again? "What do you know? Just tell me." Her voice cracked, desperation seeping through. "They're talking about clinical trials, potential treatments that might not be available yet. I wanted to help you find them, to make sure you have options when you talk to your family again." Hope surged within her, reminding her of the stake they all had in fighting. "Okay, but why should I believe you've got my father's best interests at heart?" "Because I've been there too," Jason admitted, his eyes flashing with sincerity. "When my own father was sick, I didn't know what to do until it was too late. I don't want that for you." The vulnerability in his voice sparked something inside Emily, calmness in the chaos. She sensed the truth he carried, raw and unrefined. "I need this. My family needs this," she whispered, suddenly feeling tentative. "But what if they don't want to hear it?" Jason leaned across the table, a strong resolve lining his features. "Then let them know it's about options, choices. They deserve to hear everything. You deserve it too." As Emily stared into his eyes, the flickering doubt began to dissipate. What if this was the bridge she needed to unite their fractured family? "You'll come with me?" she asked quietly, her heart pounding with both fear and a burgeoning desire for change. Absolutely, he replied, the conviction in his voice reassuring. The world outside the cafe felt like fading echoes as Emily nodded slowly, giving in to the spark of hope igniting within her. Let us go. Together, they stepped outside into the crisp air, their breaths mingling in the chill. The path home felt different now, as though they were on the cusp of something transformative. Back at her parents' house, the conversation had shifted. Emily walked in, Jason trailing just behind her. Her family looked up, confusion and concern etched across their faces. Emily. You're back so soon. Her mother said, eyes darting to Jason. We need to talk, Emily began, her voice steady despite the mix of emotions swirling within her. I found someone who can help us. Jason nodded, stepping forward. I have information on treatments that could potentially make a difference. Gasps echoed in the room, hope and fear twined like vines as each family member processed the moment. Her father's eyes sparked with interest, igniting the urgency of the unknown. Surprising us with more options? He said, cautious but intrigued. Yes, Jason answered, meeting his gaze. And we can talk about them together. You have choices. In that moment, Emily watched as the cloud of uncertainty began to lift. Her father straightened, the fight within him flickering back to life. Her mother, though apprehensive, shifted closer to him, solidarity sparking in the space between them. Maybe we can at least discuss this, her father said, his voice steady. Together, they sat around the worn family table, poring over potential options and laughter shared over memories. The warmth of connection soothed the tension that had lingered like a shadow. As Emily looked around at the faces she loved, she felt the healing begin. It wasn't just about the illness, it was about choosing hope together, just as they always had. Thank you, Emily, Jason whispered, gratitude lighting his features. Emily smiled, a surge of acceptance filling her soul. We're all in this together, she said softly, her heart aching with the weight of their bond. And as they navigated the unknown terrain before them, a sense of hope blossomed, thick like vine over stone, tying them together in ways they never could have imagined. Together, they would take on the challenge, not just as family, but as something greater, a community bound by love, unwavering and strong. Now, don't just sit there. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.